Now I've been playing Hyrule Warriors and have moved on from story mode to adventure mode and challenge mode, some of which can be way too short, some can be way too long, some way too easy, and some way too hard. All in all, there is still something kind of addictive about trying to fight harder and improve your score and better yourself in many of the situations. Here's a list of some of the Zelda series characters that are not included in the game that I wish had been included in some way or another. Adding them from Link to the Past. This would most likely be a costume change for Ganon, however. Andrew and Taffy from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. These would be great additions to the series. Andrew would have some kind of chicken-related powers, and Taffy would fight similarly to how young Link fights. Errol, Link's sister from Wind Waker. This could be an interesting character. She could have a telescope-related weapon and have a bunch of moves related to summoning seagulls. Stolted from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. He would have a bunch of moves that would relate to foresty type stuff, and would be able to put on Majora's Mask as well, and take on all of Majora's classic boss-related powers. The Gerudo Warriors from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Increase the number of female characters and to help make the Gerudo Desert stages look more authentic. They'd have a bunch of spear, sword, and arrow related moves. Pippin and Blossom's son, the baby that you get to name in the Oracle games. This could be an interesting concept, although I don't know exactly where to go with it. Chancellor Cole, the villain from Spirit Tracks. This guy has a fun design and could be interesting to put in the game. Dampy the Grave Digger from Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Link Between Worlds, and many other games. He's a very popular character. He did have shovel-based attack moves and perform all sorts of supernatural, ghost-related, or undead-related attack maneuvers. The Dutu Shrub Princess from the Majora's Mask series. She can have the typical Dutu-related moves set. Din, Nehru, and Farour from the Oracle games. That would be the inspiration for their art style. They would have the musical instrument-related moves, or whatever they're depicted with in that particular art. Although, as I think of them, their moves would probably end up being similar to that of other characters who already exist in the game. Old Woman Impa. This is how Impa looked originally in the first two NES games. In the original Zelda, in Adventures of Link, in Link to the Past and Link's Awakening even, there was no Impa as we know her from Ocarina of Time. The character that was called Impa back in the beginning was an extraordinarily old lady in a red robe with long white hair, and she was all wrinkled and needed a cane. In Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, she's just an old lady, not specifically Impa, and she has a broom. Makar from Wind Waker. This is the little leafy guy, the Takari of that time period. He'd have all kinds of leaf-related powers. He would have the propeller to help him jump high. He would have the violin to play and do stuff in that sense. Twin Rova, the witches from Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and other games. This is one of the more interesting bosses in the game, where you have to catch their magic with your shield and reflect it back to them. In some games they're potion makers or something of that nature as well. They could have all sorts of nice magic-based powers. The male Zora, the one that Link turns into in Majora's Mask, give him the same powers as Princess Ruto, but he would just be the male equivalent. Finish Cap Link. This could be a fun designed character for Link to run around as. Possible re-costume for Child Link, or it could be a new character altogether. Error from Adventures of Link. The notoriously famous I Am Error character from Adventures of Link is practically an internet meme all on his own. He could definitely be an interesting character to put in the series. Marin from Link's Awakening. Female character from Link's Awakening. The girl Link spends a lot of his time saving. Gets to date her at one point even. She'd have a lot of music-based powers and perhaps a special combo move where she could grab things with a claw and grab things like she grabs prizes from the machine, which is one of the things that she does when you date her, but she'd be mostly a lot of song-based moves. Melody from Wind Waker. She could have a lot of harp-based moves and a lot of wind-based moves from flapping her wings and doing bird-like stuff. Old Man from the NES series. The old man who lives in the cave, who gives you your very first sword and has famous "It's dangerous to go alone, take this" quote. And he appears throughout the Zelda series, giving Link all kinds of advice, even there to give him his white sword and magic sword. I've always wondered why this old man would give away swords as opposed to use them in battle, and this would be the perfect opportunity to utilize his character. Hyrule, the sage from Ocarina of Time. Again, because the Gerudo Desert is a setting in Hyrule Warriors, why aren't more of the Gerudo people involved in said setting? Nico the Pirate from Wind Waker. I've always wanted to get some of the pirate characters into Wind Waker, and this would be a great opportunity to use the character. Tiki the Monkey first appeared in Link to the Past and has appeared in other games. Would be a very fascinating monkey move based character to have in the series. Prince Richard from Link's Awakening. This could be an interesting character to put in the series. He'd have a lot of Link style moves, a lot of frog based moves. Saria from Ocarina of Time, Link's best friend from that series and one of the sages. She did have all kinds of plant and music-based powers. Maple and Syrup, the witches from Link to the Past, or Irene, the witch from Link Between Worlds, whatever names you prefer for them. They could have some nice magic-based powers in the combat situations. Tetra from Wind Waker, perhaps one of my favorite requests. I would love to have pirates in the series, and Tetra could have some awesome moves. She could have pirate sword type maneuvers as her basic attack, and then for her combo attack she could turn into Zelda and do Zelda style moves. The King of Hyrule. He could be an interesting character. We see him in Wind Waker, we see him in other games. He could definitely be out there fighting on the battlefield. Vati, the antagonist from Four Swords and many other Zelda games. This could be an interesting inclusion in the Zelda Hyrule Warriors series. Ravio, the bunny-hooded shopkeeper from Link Between Worlds. This could be an alternate costume for Link himself, or he could be his own character, performing all kinds of moves with the weapons that he sells in his shop and assisted by his little partner. Guy from Link Between Worlds. This could be a fun character to play as. Or possibly the Bud-Catching Kid from Link to the Past if you want to go classic. Although the two could be alternate costumes of each other. Goldie from Link Between Worlds. This could be another music-based fighter similar to Saria. Yuda, the villain from Link Between Worlds. This could be an alternate costume for Ganondorf, or he could be his own person. He did have a lot of painting-based powers, a lot of ability to go 2D and so forth. The Thief Girl from Link Between Worlds. She's always been fascinating to me, and she could have some interesting moves. Link's uncle from Link to the Past. This could definitely be an interesting character, or possibly an alternate skin for Link. Bunny Link costume, I'd love to see that in Hyrule Warriors, especially if it could permanently boost Link's speed. Hustler from Link to the Past, similar to the old man I said before. Possibly they could be alternate costumes of each other. Roam, the Mystery Knight from the Nintendo Power comics based on Link to the Past. This is a very interesting character. I'd love to see him get used in something game related. Although he is from the comics, he's kind of obscure and no one really knows who he is. Mia and Maggie, the two kidnapped girls from Wind Waker. These are the girls who, one is always rich and one is always homeless. They could be interesting characters to have in the Hyrule Warriors series. Bagu from Adventures of Link, similar to Error, or possibly alternate costumes of each other. Guma, the ball and chain warrior from Adventures of Link. Just the idea of having him along and letting him use the ball and chain item, that would be an interesting, unique character to have in the series. Ralph, the hero who shows up in the Oracle games, that would be another one of my major, fun, interesting characters I'd love to see make an appearance in the Hyrule Warriors series, because he was always interesting to me in the Oracle games. I would love to see the Windfish make an appearance in Hyrule Warriors. The free rideable animals from the Oracle games, I'd love to see those used. Pamela and her father, the guy who got turned partially into a Gibdo from Majora's Mask. That could be an interesting set of characters to have in the game. I've always been fascinated by his tragic backstory and have always enjoyed the quest to help him during the 3 days of Majora's Mask. Keaton the Fox from Majora's Mask, I'd love to see that as a character. He can have all kinds of mystical fox powers. Fishing Hole Man from Ocarina of Time. This could be a fun character too. He could have all sorts of fishing pole related moves. And he did have summoning fish as his combo attack. And finally, the Happy Masked Salesman. How can this guy not be included in Majora's Mask package? He's definitely an interesting character and could have some interesting move sets with all of the masks. Now those are my ideas for characters I'd love to see in Hyrule Warriors. Anyhow, let me know who you would like to see playable in the Hyrule Warriors series in the comments section below. Thank you for watching and good night.